Jupitersreal asks, I crave hugs at night. I am in a relationship, but we don't live together because we are both minors. But at night, I always crave just hugging her and her being there. And it's not that we live far apart, that we can't see each other. Another thing with our relationship is that it's a WLW, women loving women relationship, and we both aren't out, so we have to hide it. Nearly every night I crave hugging her, or I wake up in the middle of the night, like right now, and crave just hugging and spooning with her. I don't know how to find a replacement, and it really sucks.
That does really suck. Jupitersreal.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're missing your girl and you can't have her when you really feel like you want that comfort.
Yeah. So what you can do in these moments, you might already be doing this, is look forward to the next time that you can hug her. And when you are in those moments, really enjoy that and try and notice details to hold on to whenever you're unable to do it and you're like right now, waking up wishing you could hug her.
Yeah, details like how does the back of her neck smell if you were to be spooning her from behind, or what would it feel like to have her against your stomach or your legs? Just, yeah, those little sensory things. You can almost sort of take a snapshot while you're in them, remembering and recording it so that you can look back on it and really try to kind of like feel it, you know, through all five senses: touch, smell, taste, sight, sound.
Mm-hmm.
See if you can encode different memories in each of those domains and see if that helps it to be more vivid. That could create maybe an even greater sense of missing her if she's not there and you're revisiting these sensory experiences. One thing that I do when I feel lonely and I'm craving physical touch, and again, this this could exacerbate your sense of being alone, but you know, sometimes I'll kind of gently caress my own hand or massage my neck or you know, put my hand in my lap, rub my stomach. See what you can seek out as far as self-touch and what's comforting to you.
I recommend getting a body pillow and hugging that. You can hug it with your arms and your legs.
Mm-hmm.
It's about as long as a person is. Yeah, and then you can think about her while you're hugging the pillow. You could even whisper her name if you like that. Really, do it.
Yeah. Another thing that I love is exchange a piece of clothing with her. And you know, like a sweatshirt is obviously a popular one. Because then it'll have their smell, and if you guys are seeing each other regularly, you can keep trading them back and forth, so the scent stays kind of fresh and still smells like her. And it's something, a sweatshirt or a sweater is great because it's something that you put on and it's around you, and it kind of feels like a hug, and it's warm and cozy, and it smells like them.
Now, if you're worried about that giving away your relationship, you could both pick a very popular type of sweatshirt, something that you can wear in bed reasonably, and buy the same one so that nobody notices, oh, that's just sleeping with her friends. Just if that's a concern of you've got spying parents or somebody who, you know, a sibling that might find that out and use that as evidence. You could do that, get matching articles of clothing and trade them once you've rubbed them on your skin a lot.
Yeah. Another thing that I would recommend, which, you know, isn't quite the same, but I've been in a few long distance relationships, and one thing that helps me is to FaceTime them as you're going to bed, sort of like you're tucking each other in. And you can even sort of lie down and have the phone or the laptop kind of be open as if they were lying next to you. You know, put it down on the pillow, and you can even fall asleep that way. It doesn't help when you wake up, but I think it kind of, to me at least, it puts me in that mode of like, I'm relaxed because someone else is here when I'm like winding down.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it with friends too. It's also good. I recommend that to anyone.
Maybe my last advice that I can produce right now is just having a definite plan of a date when you know that you're going to be able to see each other again, and then you can count down how long is that, how many days and hours is that, and you can take joy and be like, oh, it's only 3 days now, and yesterday it was 4 days. It's getting closer.
Yeah. I have another thing that came to me.
What?
Getting them to record you like a bedtime message, just a little audio note, and then that's something that you can also play when you're going to bed, or get them to record something that's specifically for, okay, so you woke up in the middle of the night and you're missing me, and like, here's my voice, and I'm, here's something you can think about to go back to sleep, and you can do this for each other. Again, to just kind of create that sense of their energy being there, something that you can hold on to or listen to or look at when you're having that feeling of missing them. Also, you can wrap yourself into a little ball and squeeze really, really tight, and with your arms around your knees, and just imagine that they're kind of like scooping you up, and surround yourself with blankets to just feel totally kind of surrounded and covered. I think that's a really nice sensation.
Mm-hmm. And finally, while this may be painful, it might help to remember that it won't last forever.
Yeah.
This is one way or another. You won't be tormented in this way forever.
Yeah.
You'll either gain more access to the person, and then it'll become more commonplace. So I think it's inevitable that you one day look back on this with a wistful nostalgia of, I remember when that was really, really important to me. Mm-hmm. I cared so much. So try to just like soak in that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And perhaps also be grateful that you have someone in your life that is in this role for you right now, even if you can't be with them at this exact moment.
Yeah.
All right.
Free advice.
Free advice.
Free advice.
Free advice.
Free advice. Free advice. Free advice. Free advice. Would you like free advice? Free advice. Free advice. Free advice. Free advice. Forever.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Free Advice, episode number 62.
Yeah.
Ow, ow, as we say.
I do seem to always say that. Ow, ow.
Morgan, how did your assignment go? Do tell me you remember to do it.
Not even a chance. What was the assignment?
The assignment was you're going to complain to your rabbits whenever you needed to complain about things.
Oh, yeah. I have talked to them a lot, but I don't know if I've really complained. I kind of like talk shit to them sometimes. I just took to myself. I didn't do the assignment. I didn't do the assignment. I didn't do my homework. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Well, I forgive. I didn't do it either. I thought about doing it, though, and I want partial credit.
That's amazing. Because, I didn't even remember that there was an assignment. So, applause for you.
When I felt like I had things to complain about, I didn't want to do the silly action of telling my plant about them.
What thought came up to counter that? You were like, I should complain to this plant. And then you were like,
stupid.
This is fucking
stupid.
Yeah.
That's silly.
It's kind of a complaint.
Yeah. I suppose I could complain about committing to the exercise. All right. That'll be my challenge for this next week.
Yeah.
And yours too. So you better remember to do it.
I will try. In all likelihood, I'll forget again, but I will try not to.
Okay. Matter of business number 2. How are you doing right now?
I'm doing pretty well. I know, I don't think it was last week. I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe a couple weeks ago. I was asking you for advice about dealing with my Monday morning anxiety.
Oh, yeah?
And
I remember now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really want to report on that homework assignment that I gave myself that wasn't an assignment at all. But I've been doing a lot better with that. And I think that I owe that to a continued pursuit of just practicing, like how do I meet my anxiety in the morning, and what do I channel it into? I'm sure getting back on antidepressants is also helping me to make that anxiety less like at the forefront of everything. But in some combination, me refining my practices for meeting my anxiety with compassion and feeling into it and breathing with it, and adjusting medication has resulted very positively for me. And today I really feel like this is a very different kind of Monday than like the last 8 Mondays or so have felt. So I'm patting myself on the back for that one. I'm pretty excited.
Oh, great.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing well. I woke up and was like, oh, fuck, I'm too tired. I just want to get back in bed. I did do it. I set an alarm for like an hour later. But then like a minute or two later, I got out of bed, put on my running shoes, went for a jog. And then I took a cold bath, which I've never done before. I've talked a lot about cold showers.
Yes.
But this time I submerged myself in a cold bath, which is, I think, scarier because you don't have any parts of your body that are safe when you're under there. And it feels like it's just gripping you and like smushing you. Everything's condensing and I'm breathing really fast. But then when I got out, as you might expect, I felt great. And I decided, okay, I haven't meditated yet. I'm going to meditate just on what's the feeling in my body right now? What is this warmth from within? And that was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll try that again. And I'm hot again now because it's hot in this room.
Yep.
That's how I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'd like to give an update from some of our questioners last week. We got a little bit of feedback.
Fuck yeah.
Which
I
I'm
love
gonna
when we
read
get
here.
feedback from you guys.
Me too. It makes it feel like we're really doing it and people are actually hearing it.
Yeah.
Like it's a real podcast. Almost feels legit.
Just a few more pieces of feedback from you guys and then we'll feel validated.
Yeah. It's becoming it's all worth it. All the blood, sweat, and tears.
All right. I'm excited to hear it.
So we got Hunters Suck, who
Okay.
last week told us they got a laptop for making the honor roll twice, but it felt like they didn't deserve it.
Yes. Yes. I love that question.
We shared our analogous experiences and our
Yeah.
thought processes in moments like that. Hunter Suck said, I just listened to your advice and it definitely helped. You understood my thought process perfectly. Thank you so much, with an exclamation mark.
Booyah.
Great.
I love that. I'm
Yeah.
really glad that they especially bothered to say like that we understood what they were thinking. And because I think sometimes like being on the receiving end of advice can feel, I don't know, a little bit patronizing or just not that helpful if you don't really feel like the person who's giving you advice actually understands what you're saying and really is like with you and what you're feeling.
Sometimes
'Cause
it feels
otherwise
like
it's
they're
like-
giving themselves advice that you don't actually need to hear. You don't feel
Right. Like it doesn't
understood,
feel
like-
accredited because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, but you're not addressing the fact, or you don't seem to understand. Yeah. Like what I'm going through. So that means a lot. Thank you, Hunter Suck.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And then we got Night Vision without the first eye, who posted the question sex addiction last week.
Yeah.
And they said, what an amazing podcast. I listened keenly to what you said as far as finding a substitute task to alter present feeling. I'll have to work on it because I'm used to getting distracted and instead of being productive. It's a bit of a challenge because of what's going on right now, but I'll work on it. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
As the days go by, I feel like it's my self-control that needs more rebuilding. I also agree with changing my reward system to a more mature setting that benefits me in the long run. Again, thanks for the advice. You've definitely earned a subscriber.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Night Vision. Thank you so much. I love how you are responding to what we're saying and kind of trying to figure out, okay, how does this actually fit in for me? And what are the areas of growth where I need to keep looking at this? And I love that you use the word rebuilding your self-control, because I think people think about motivation or something as this very like black and white thing that either like exists or it doesn't, or like willpower, it exists or it doesn't. I have it, I don't. And I love that you're setting yourself up for that gradual accumulation of self-control and recognizing that, okay, it's something I need to pay more attention to. It's something that I need to, a muscle that I need to start gaining some strength in. And you're not acting like it's completely impossible.
The reason most people don't improve at things is failure to set the bar low enough, disqualifying incremental steps towards a goal. And I loved that you gave yourself the qualifier of things are difficult right now, and it might be harder to retrain yourself in this moment. The more that you share that with other people and see that that's a common experience, I think that everybody needs to cut themselves a bit of slack right now. My therapy sessions feel like half of it is just my therapist telling me how poorly everybody else is doing and how like, actually, you seem like you're doing okay compared to, let me tell you.
That's
bad out there.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I will get, when I'm by myself and I only have my own sort of hyper perfectionistic standards to compare my actions to, it's all bad news. But then when I get back out into the real world and I talk to other people about what they're going through and what they're experiencing, it helps me really return to earth a little bit in my expectations for myself, and reminding myself that there's this super anxiety inducing pandemic going on, and that's in a vacuum a base layer of anxiety. But then so many of what we do to cope and feel connected to other people is stripped away. So it's just this double dicking.
Double dicking.
You don't just have one dick slapping you in the face.
Oh.
You've got two dicks slapping you in the face. It's a double
triggered.
dicking.
There goes night vision. Turning off the podcast. Sorry, night vision. I tried to tell her to keep it PG-13, but
Well, not when you're being double dicked by a pandemic. A pandemic.
there opens up a new tab right now. Sorry, night vision.
But yeah, thank you so much for that feedback. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
It means the world to know that you hear what we're doing and you're implementing our suggestions.
Yeah.
It makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, I hope to hear from you again.
Yeah,
You can always write us your questions at freeadvicepodcast@gmail.com.
absolutely.
Okay, that's the end of our feedback from previous weeks.
I love it. I love that segment.
It's good. It's growing. It's spiraling out of control. Do you, it's fine if you don't, need any advice personally today? Or want any? Anything small, anything large?
That is such a good question and loaded. It's never anything small with me. I feel
Have
like
you ever put hydrogen peroxide in your ears?
probably. Yeah, I think so.
It's a great feeling. I just did that for the first time. I was going to recommend that. Like pop rock.
My problem is missing my ex, and your solution's going to be putting hydrogen peroxide in my ear. It will distract me. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm always dealing with a swath of like large inter and intra personal kind of challenges. But I'm feeling pretty good at the moment.
Good.
So, long story cut completely short by my own desire to not really go there.
Okay.
I'll ask, do you have any calls for advice from
turning
me?
the tables. Whoop. You know, something in my bathroom. I think it's the bath mat is getting too wet, and then it smells.
Yeah.
Have you smelled this in the bathroom?
Your
You know what I'm
bathroom
talking
specifically? No, but I
No,
know of this
but-
issue.
Yeah. Do I have to take the bath mat outside into the sunshine? There's no natural windows in my bathroom.
Is it washable? Is it machine washable?
I wouldn't do. There's like a rubber grippy shit on the bottom. It's kind of peeling. I think that would come all over everything.
Okay. So, baseline recommendation, yeah, you could take it outside. But also just get in the habit of hanging it up after you get out of the shower and it's wet.
On the
Every
shower
time.
door?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that it's always not just sitting on the
Just
floor.
at face
sitting
level
in a
then,
puddle of
though,
wet.
going to make it even smellier for me, being up by my nose. That's where I detect
Okay,
the
so
scent.
find a place out of the way to hang it that's still
I'm just
relatively
complaining. It's going to
convenient.
be on the door. That's the only spot.
Okay.
Okay. One more thing I wanted to tell you is
Yeah.
I look at my neighbors' packages in the lobby,
Yeah.
sort of just to learn their names and see who's getting lots of things, what sizes they are, what floor these names are on.
Building the world's most
collecting
useless
ta-
mental library.
Yeah. But I read what's going to whom.
So long story short, I read.
I read in the lobby. Today I
Not
had a
novels
neighbor.
so much, but other people's packages.
Well, so that's not the whole story. That's just
Oh, there's
set up.
more. I'm
Today-
sorry. I'm
Oh, yeah, I
shit-talking
wouldn't
you
just
so
say.
much.
I might just say that, but no, you're doing great. So, one of my neighbors got a package from a place called Cumtown.
Ooh, CUM.
CUM
Okay.
space TOWN. No,
Love it.
it's not like couldn't be anything else.
Yeah.
So I googled it, it's
Sacks of cum.
a very successful podcast. It's the 6th highest paid Patreon podcast. And it's like crude humor, offbeat stuff, kind of like, maybe our lane,
Oh, okay.
but less meaningful. Like, I don't think they're
Fuck you, Cum Town.
they're
We're
not
more
helping
meaningful.
people in the same way that we are. They
It's a
don't have
different
the-
show.
The charitable.
It's a different show.
Yeah. So
Okay, so what are they doing?
I think the dude from Our Real Monsters
Yeah.
who holds his eyeballs above his head.
Crumb,
Yeah. So
I think.
I went to their website this morning and they're selling a T-shirt of, let's call him Crumb, sure, where those eyes are balls and it's a
Wow.
stretched ball sack, and then there's like a dick
Wow.
nose that's hidden by the stretched out ball sack, but it's clearly the same character. It's really like a design challenge, I think, to make him resemble that character just as much, but still be able to clearly see that, okay, those are little balls in a ball sack, and the sack is stretched over the outline of a penis.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So what was
That's
the
a
question?
T-shirt.
What was the question, or what was the? Where were we?
I wanted to
headed
tell
with
you
that?
about Come Down.
Oh, okay. I'm so glad that you did.
Yeah.
Do you think that we should create merch that is equally crude, or just any kind
shock
of merch?
value does guarantee some kind of an audience. Like, I was surprised because I thought like every like sex toy company always advertises it's very discreet packaging, and this just said very clearly "Come Town" on the
Yeah.
thing.
I don't think their discretion is their top priority. It sounds like.
No, and it's kind of like I suppose a treat for the person ordering the stuff. I wonder if they have an option that you can turn off.
It's interesting that you say audience, because in this scenario, there's only an audience for this package because you're reading your neighbor's mail.
I'm not opening anything.
Right.
I'm
right,
not.
right.
I'm just
Eyeballing
looking.
it.
I'm checking to see if it's mail for me first
Right,
of all,
right,
Because
of
I
course.
don't know if there's a 3-week delayed Amazon package that I forgot about, full of just like a pencil sharpener or something that
From Cum Town.
from. Well, I have to look at the label to figure out if it's for me, and then once
Right.
I'm there, I might as well. I just read a photographic memory first. I've got a lot of skills that automatically happen in my brain where if the word "Come Town" is printed on a package that I'm examining for my name,
You're gonna see it.
I'll notice that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What a superpower. If a package says Cum Town, I'm going to see that it says Cum Town.
I'm
Oh
gonna
my
look at the
God. Have you
package.
called the newspaper?
I should. I should put a memo pad up in the lobby while the package is still there. Hey guys, read who this package is from.
Hey, guys.
Look, before he picks it up. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. There was that, I remember that time around Christmas maybe where one of your neighbors, because I'm making
You look
fun
at
of
the
you,
packages
but
in
I
my
also
building,
look at the
too.
packages in your lobby.
It's just set up that way. You don't
Yeah.
have little nooks separate for each.
Yeah.
It's all right there.
But I remember there was a specific note posted above the mailboxes that said that their child's sneakers had been stolen or something. Like that
Oh.
package, it was like a Christmas gift
Yeah,
for them.
I remember that.
And then they were just like bitching out this anonymous thief. I wonder
Mm-hmm.
if that anonymous thief read that note and took any action, or maybe the package was just stolen or something. I don't know.
I could put up a question. I bet the person who put that note would love a 7-month follow-up of, hey, did you ever get those kids' shoes back? Just, I wasn't involved in any way. I'm just curious if justice was ever served. Like, did
Yeah.
you buy new ones?
Yeah.
Is the kid barefoot still? What happened? I
Was
think they'd
Christmas
like
ruined?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that
If there's
compare to the events
no-
of this year?
Right.
Do you look back at that and laugh?
I wonder if just taking that action, if there were no suspects, would really put you as the number one suspect at this point.
Perhaps. I don't
Yeah.
need to sign it. I can
Right.
I can write
Just
anonymous.
curious neighbor, curious and compassionate neighbor,
Loving neighbor.
loving neighbor.
What?
I don't know, loving neighbor just without a warm face attached to it seems a little
I could draw a smiley.
okay, and a heart maybe.
If you are writing, I've stumbled into some advice.
I can't wait.
Say that I want to write somebody a smiley emoticon.
Okay.
Do I keep its orientation like I would type it with the colon and the closed parentheses? Or do I, since I have control over the pen, do I shift everything to a more realistic, head-on perspective of the eyes above the mouth?
Yeah, that's... I think it depends on if you're trying to kind of adopt the aesthetic of a text message versus...
Are people more
just doing
comfortable with that?
smileys.
Should I? Follow-up question.
No, I don't
Should
think
I
it's,
adopt the aesthetic of a text
recommended.
message? Younger audiences maybe would prefer the sideways face, and older audiences, perhaps I keep it upright.
I don't think so. I think that emojis are such a thing now, and those are upright, that I think most people would now associate
Oh.
a regular smiley face with like an emoji, with like a type.
It doesn't
character.
people still use colon parentheses for smiles,
do.
though, right?
Yeah.
That's still pretty common.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that weirdly, in more like professional emails, I will do the typed out colon smiley face.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I want to be like low effort in a flirtatious text message, I'll do that. But usually I just use emojis.
Okay. Even you're playing it cool. You type it out.
I'm like,
rather
I'm lo-fi.
than- cool.
Yeah. Or the winky face. Never the dash for the nose. That is not hot. That's not sexy. Never.
I like X, capital D, for squinting and a big teeth showing smile.
Yeah. To me, that has a very like lead singer vibe. Like they're like, "Ah!"
I always thought it was them just cracking up.
Yeah. It's just intense. It's just an intense expression. Should we get another question?
Let's go to
Let's
Papa
go.
Cat 1.
Papa Cat.
Things
one.
I can do while I save up for therapy. I struggle with insecurity, dependency, self-doubt, confidence, and severe anxiety. I can't afford therapy yet, but I'm saving up for it. In the meantime, does anyone know of any worksheets, drills, exercises, cognitive practices, etc. that I could do daily to help myself become more confident? I want to get better, and I'm ready to change, but I don't know how to do it. I'm willing to put in the work. I just need pointed in a direction. Haha. Thank you.
Okay. Papa Cat.
Mm-hmm.
So I think 2 very basic starter practices to start just listening to yourself on a deeper level and gaining some more control, perhaps, or at least awareness of yourself and your thought patterns and your habits are going to be number 1, meditating, and number 2, journaling. Speaking from personal experience, I know that no one ever wants to be recommended to meditate. Like, I'll say that flat out. However, it is one of the most beneficial things that you can do, and you need nothing to accomplish it. And people lots of times throw out excuses like, I don't have time, or I can't sit still, whatever. So start where you are. Spend 2 minutes just sitting, breathing, and returning your focus to your breath every time you notice you're on a train of thought.
Mm-hmm. It's not a failure to be thinking about something else. It's a
Right.
success when you notice and bring it back to the breath. It's like a repetition of a bicep curl is how I always think of that.
Yes, exactly. And the goal of that is to continually refocus the mind in the way that where you want to on what you want to shine the spotlight on. Because when our minds, when we're not doing a task, settle into what's called the default mode network, which is a network of circuitry that is just often is thinking about, well, what did I do in the past? What am I going to do in the future? It's not present. And it's often when
Having
we
those
find a lot of
imaginary conversations with people that
we drift into into the default mode network when we're not doing a task, and it's been shown that creates dissatisfaction. So the more practice you get, the more muscle reps, the more time you spend just continually making that switch back to whatever you're trying to focus on. Number 1, you're going to feel a sense of like mastery over your domain, your mental domain. And number 2, you're going to be able to not switch into that default mode network more and more throughout the day. You're going to bring that practice of mindfulness is going to carry over into the rest of what you do. And you're going to feel better because your attention is going to be where you're trying to place it.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is journaling, because one thing that we do with our thoughts is perpetually think them in cycles over and over and over again. And to interrupt that process and to get a viewpoint of more objectivity on them, and to really be able to study them and trace them and put them outside of yourself is so critical to understanding them better and then ultimately changing your behavior around it.
Mm-hmm. I think you can grow your confidence by doing anything that you think is challenging that you've resisted doing in the past.
Yes.
Something that you've put off for years, you've never gotten started on. Anything, and I realize your options might be limited right now by the pandemic. But say that there's a topic that you wanted to learn about, something that you wanted to try. Just taking those first steps towards it, I think, will increase your confidence, and experiencing some type of acceptance or understanding from another person. Talking to a friend, just sharing something new with a person that you trust. Could be great. Listing things that you like about other people can get you to get in the practice about that for yourself. Listing things that you enjoy, just things that make you happy in the real world, I think will improve your mood. And you can play that game with other people. Like, hey, let's try and list as many things as you love as you can in a minute, and then I'll repeat them back to you. It sounds very simple, but whenever I've done that, people are happy, and then they keep thinking that way throughout the rest of the day. They're reminded of things that they really enjoy, and they focus more on those positive things. And I think that will help your mood. I want to caution putting too much weight on the idea of the therapist will make things better, and like that's when change can happen. So I think it's great that you're asking this question. There's a lot that you can do in the meantime. You might find when you start therapy that it's not magical, or they're saying things that just other people have said, or that you could have read in a book, or you've thought yourself anyway. I think a lot of the value of therapy for me is just having a consistent individual who accepts and like doesn't criticize me, doesn't reject me or let me down in any way, or ask something of me besides the money that was agreed upon at the beginning. So just I wanted to give that disclaimer, know that going into it.
Yeah, it's funny because I have I agree that you shouldn't go into really anything expecting, oh, this is going to be my silver bullet and I should hold off on doing anything myself until I can get this other thing. Mm-hmm. But I also do think therapy has a real magic to it. There is something to me magical about that relationship. And I think that, similar to what you said, what makes it so effective is just having that unconditional positive regard, which is a really empowering and touching and moving, dynamic to allow yourself to be exposed to. And I think it is about sharing it with someone else and not kind of just hiding in your muck and allowing things that maybe you wouldn't say to friends, or maybe you're kind of even hiding from yourself, to just be aired with someone who is going to hold space for you to do that. Mm-hmm. And not have the reaction of someone who might be more tied into your personal life. The other thing that I want to say is a lot of the suggestions that we just made may seem pretty simple or uncomplicated or like unofficial. And I know what you've asked for is more kind of formal, like exercises and this and that. As you're listening, and maybe I'm projecting that you have this reaction, but I think it's really important to not similarly to not putting all of the expectations on the therapist, to not make it so that the work has to be so complicated and you don't need fancy tools or fancy exercises to just practice being with yourself and going to those new places and exploring new facets of yourself. You really will get there by just trying to be quiet and noticing the resistance that comes up, or trying to self-express and notice that the resistance that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that opening up the space for that dialogue will be a really good preamble for dialoguing with your therapist. That being said, there are so many amazing resources on the internet for if you have specific questions, things that you're working on, want guidance on. Not that I want my answer to this question to be go Google it. That's not our job. But I think try those simple practices that we recommended and see where you have resistance, see where you get distracted, see where your mind wanders, and start to notice patterns. And open yourself up to vulnerable conversations with people and notice what's scary about that and what emotions come into play when you are trying to talk to someone about this particular thing that happened to you, and trying to cultivate an attitude of delighted curiosity as those little facets surface, I think is a really good approach as well.
I have, if you want something concrete, which could just be fun or be a way to pass the time right now, as if you want to move in this direction, I've found that how much you believe in the efficacy of a exercise is probably more important than the actual exercise.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. And I've enjoyed feeling like I have some secret advantage. Like I'm trying this stuff, I'm trying a new diet. I'm trying like cold showering every day, microdosing psilocybin, some like thing like that gives me like a trick that other people never, don't know about this thing. I think one book that's full of these is Own the Day, Own Your Life by Aubrey Marcus. He breaks down like an ideal, a bunch of life hacks, how to wake up in the morning, the best way to eat breakfast, the best way to get yourself like into a mood to work, when to exercise, things like that. And you can implement all of those tools. And then if you want the more gooey, therapist-y, like the less concrete side, there's a book called Perfect Love, Imperfect Relationships, which I think can get you to examine a lot of your history of grievance and things that upset you and where that might come from, and when you feel loved, and can help you gain some insights if you're looking at the more analytical and less action-oriented side of therapy. I recommend that book. I'll post both of those in the description for you.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that you're on a great track, and I love that you're being so proactive about it. I love that you're working towards being able to afford a tool that I think is going to be really helpful. And one other thing I want to say is, if you start this therapeutic relationship and it ends up not being what you thought it would be, do search to find the right therapist. Do put the time in to make sure that the person that you are confiding in and you're starting to build this relationship with is actually really helping you, because every therapist is different. It is kind of more of an art than a science, and you're going to have different relationships with different people. It's going to bring out different things in you. It's going to make you feel more or less comfortable opening up, and really finding the right person is so important ultimately to the pace and the efficacy of the treatment. If you don't have that much selection, fine, make the best out of it. But I want you to put your hard-earned money somewhere that's really going to be beneficial for you. So don't settle for a therapist that sucks. So many people settle for therapists that suck. You deserve better. You deserve the right fit.
This may seem unprofessional or juvenile way of looking at it, but I think you should pick a therapist that you think something about them is cool. Like that you admire something about them and can identify with, or your gut reaction isn't like to judge them negatively, like, oh, what a bozo, what a just
what an old fart,
or weirdo, whatever you think. Find somebody like, oh, that's cool. Somebody that you admire something about them. You don't have to want their exact life, but just somebody that you, look for that.
I love that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Should we do one more?
Yeah, let's do another question. Why don't we? Several more, perhaps.
Perhaps.
You're not going anywhere.
I've got time. I've got time for the advisees.
Okay. What do you want to do? Max Carney 1, 2, 3s?
I don't know which one that is.
Well, you're about to find out.
Okay.
Max Carney 1, 2, 3 says, I had sex with a girl.
Great. I was hoping it was this one. Bring it on, Max Carney.
Max Carney 1, 2, 3 said, I had sex with a girl, and it was her first time, and I don't think she enjoyed it. I feel like I used her when before I asked her 100 times if she was okay with it, and she said yes, but I still feel like I used her.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for writing this question. It's a really vulnerable space to be in, to be reflecting on a sexual experience and not really being sure what happened, feeling a sense of maybe inadequacy, wondering if you've hurt someone. It's a really difficult sort of self-analytical space. So thank you for writing this question. I have a lot to say about this.
All right, maybe this is the last question.
Yeah. Okay. So I think from a consent standpoint, you did the right thing. You made sure at different points in the interaction that, is this still okay? Is this still
100
okay?
times before
100
she was
times.
okay with it.
So perhaps even too much. But you've checked, you've crossed your T's and I's, and you're good. You're good. At that point, getting verbal consent again and again and again, it's up to her to decide to participate. So I want you to feel a little bit freed from a sense of guilt or inadequacy in that department, because I have no reason to believe that you took advantage of her.
Right.
That all being said, I think it's super normal, and maybe you can validate this. I think it's super normal to be worried about your performance after a sexual experience of any kind. I mean, let alone if one or the other person has never done it before. You know, I've been having sex for years, and I still get self-conscious, and it's less and less every time. And it's something that exploring it with a new person is always opening up a whole new world of like, what can this be like? Because every new person has a completely different sort of composite of energy with you. And when you're having sex with someone for the first time, it can be really challenging to figure out, where do we mesh? What do we connect on? What feels good for her? What feels good for me?
It was her first time with anyone,
right.
not just with him.
Right. So I'm just trying to normalize that, like, virgin experience or not for either party, there's a lot of things to think about. She may not have enjoyed it, and that might not be your fault or your responsibility. It might not have been something that you could have done different or would have known to do differently. Mm-hmm. And I want to caution against putting an unpleasant experience in the same bucket as a non-consensual experience, or one that you need to feel guilt about. Sometimes you hang out with a friend and it's just not that, you go to somebody's party and it's not that fun. Or it's not. That's different from kidnapping, you know. You're allowed to be. You clearly care
And so if you were someone who didn't care, I might like try and encourage you to care more, but you're allowed to be an unpleasant experience for somebody, and that doesn't ruin you or make you a bad person or bad in all other ways with them, or that all future experiences will be unpleasant.
Totally. And I think that we here at Free Advice, thankfully, have a lot of helpful tips for what can you do going forward.
Yes.
Not just as far as communicating with her, but as far as future sexual experiences. So I think the biggest thing I want to impress upon you is communication being key. I don't know what the nature of your relationship with this person is, if it's ongoing, if you guys are close or not that close. But if it is the kind of situation where you're going to interact with her again, sexually or not, you can communicate this feeling to her. You can say, I've been reflecting on our experience together, and I just wanted to know, what was it like for you? And this is kind of the feeling I was left with, and I wanted to see where you were at with it. And then if there's a door open for future sexual contact, I think we always advocate for the outside of the bedroom conversations before getting into the bedroom, meaning talking about what you like ahead of time, so that you can, once you're in kind of sex mode, or, that like sexy dynamic, you're not worrying about, well, I don't even know if she likes to be spanked, or I don't even know how she likes her clit licked, So having conversations ahead of time where you really dissect when emotions aren't so high about it, because you're not in the middle of performing and trying to be like, oh God, is this okay? And opening up to yourself up to potentially feeling harmed by a criticism. How does she like to be touched? Does she like things to be slower, softer, rougher, faster, harder? What areas of her body does she like to be touched? And working your way from, gentle touching to kissing to, deeper and deeper kinds of interactions, to then how am I interacting with her vulva? How am I, using my penis? Like, what kinds of penetration? There's so many avenues to go down. Another great one is to ask her about her masturbation style. What does she do to get herself off? Or ask, again, this is all making a lot of assumptions
she
that
may
this
not
is in your
masturbate.
relationship.
She might not have these answers yet.
She might not have these answers, but maybe it would be a turn on for both of you for her to masturbate in front of you, and you could watch, how does she touch herself? How can I emulate those movements? Every woman is so different, and it's not like, okay, you just learn how to use the equipment and then you translate that onto copy and paste every single sexual partner that you have. Everyone is so different, and part of what's really scary, but also potentially really fun and interesting, is trying to figure out, okay, how does this one work? What am I going to do how does this here machine work?
Don't say that out loud.
No, don't say that out loud.
Turn the encounter.
Don't treat her like an object. I'm just doing this kind of humorously. Yeah. But figuring out what is going to get her off, and she's going to feel more comfortable and more safe with you. Speaking from my personal experience, I feel more comfortable and more safe with a partner who ahead of time tells me they really care about pleasuring me, and they want to be corrected. They want to know what feels good, what doesn't. Interrupt me, it's fine. I just want to, I want to know what feels good for you. That makes me feel a lot more comfortable inevitably having to tell them, like, please be super slow and delicate on my clit because it's extremely sensitive, and then fuck the shit out of me later. Like, but there's a lot to consider in this conversation. And maybe if you guys don't have that kind of relationship, or she doesn't have as much sexual experience, or you don't have as much sexual experience, it might not be that comfortable to have. But the more that you can stretch into having those uncomfortable conversations, the more rewarding your sex is going to be.
Coming from the perspective of a guy who has been more conversational or more communicative than some people want, You invite to those conversations. It might be a barrage of questions that's overwhelming for her. I'm imagining this could be a person who has shame about having sexual feelings, experiencing some sexual pleasure, and that might have reduced their enjoyment of that whole experience. And talking about it could be more threatening than something that's done in the dark with the lights off and doesn't have to be spoken about. Sometimes forming words about something is more threatening than getting naked for some people. So you can ask, are there things that you're uncomfortable with? Are there things that you liked? And I think starting by saying something that you like about them and not treating this entirely as like we're trying to fix my guilt about this, but like saying something that a compliment or something pleasant, like that you're happy that you get to be close to them or that you get to see them again, can set the stage for them, for her to be more comfortable in sharing these preferences. I expect this to be a difficult conversation, and for her to not know the answer, and then if you can, with a low sense of urgency, ask when she doesn't have an answer to something, would you like to find out? Do you want to experiment? Go in with that like a playful attitude. The less goal-oriented you are of dick needs to go in pussy and I have to come, I think the better an experience it'll be. So, yeah, go in with that explorer's mindset.
Right. Not be looking for the golden whatever. Just, you're not going for the orgasm like it's the only meaningful byproduct of having sex. But genuinely communicating, as Rob said, like, you're just happy to be there with them and to explore and to find out what feels good. I remember when I was younger, just feeling a tremendous amount of pressure to perform and have an orgasm during sex. And that was so intimidating and clearly not a turn on. And it made it very hard for me to get to a stage where I wasn't so in my head and where I could actually just sort of lie back and enjoy things.
Did you know that about yourself as it was happening and feel like you could communicate it to partners?
Did I know it? Perhaps. Could I communicate it? No. I really struggled with that. I'm still kind of closing the last gaps on things that are hard for me to communicate during sex. And the way that the partner approaches me makes all the difference in that too. Again, that's why I said, like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be, we're going to sit down, we're going to have this big formal dialogue about what you do and don't like sexually, but just making a statement to her that in some way communicates that she can trust you to support her. And, that you're not going to get butt hurt if you're doing something to her and she says, can you do it like that? Which, you can't necessarily control, but you can be aware of how difficult it might be for someone to communicate that and try to just go, oh, okay, wow, this person really wants to help me help her receive pleasure and find a beauty in that.
You can interpret a request as a sign of acceptance that this person is comfortable enough with you.
Absolutely.
That they are making requests and believe that you can handle that. They're trying rather than like getting through the experience, which might be your concern, that they're just tolerating it.
Yes. And try to greet that expression with like, ooh, yeah, like that turns me on, or that helps me to be even more like invested in this process, rather than being like, roll your eyes and complain like it's how long it takes her to come, whatever. Right. I had an experience like that. And it's a huge setback, because it really makes you feel like you can't trust your partner is like doing things because they want to, versus they're just trying to reach some end goal. And for women, you have to really be like, relaxed and be able to let go enough of your like internal dialogue to focus on the sensations that are happening to you, to allow them to build, to trust that it's not going to be painful. Because if you're clenching against something that hurts or thinking in your head like, fuck, like this doesn't really feel good. Do I look like I'm responding like I'm in pain, or you're so far away from just what is the sensation in my pussy right now that you're you're taking steps backwards instead of forwards into, well, what does this feel like in my body? It's complicated. It's really complicated.
It's your position is complicated. Hers is too, in different ways. Yeah. And I think the best thing that you can do is just let her know that you care about her experience, or show that by the conversations that you have. And you may be a lesson for her in something that she doesn't want, and that doesn't make you a bad person. Or it might just be that the way that her story has progressed up to this point, the way that her parents talked about sex or didn't, or the stories that she's seen, the one time that she saw a movie with a sex scene in it and the reaction her friend had, all of that has led her to a tricky place that she doesn't totally understand, and she maybe is interested, but it can be a struggle for a while.
Yeah. And I think that like another, like a general thing that I want to say to really anyone, but especially penetrators, is listen and watch. Watch how her body moves and responds.
Pay attention to
you.
Breathing in particular.
Pay attention to breathing. Pay attention to the facial expression. See if what you're doing makes her come towards you or pull back, and adjust. And okay, see what response that creates. Try not to let it get you flustered, but just maintaining. I think one of the, like, to me, most exciting and like deeply kind of sexy aspects of I don't know, not just sex, but any kind of like romantic chemistry is just doing the dance of, are they present with me? Are they mirroring me? Are they attuned to me? And seeing how what I do impacts what they do, impacts what I do, and vice versa. That someone is just live in it with you, having experience, not having sex with themselves while their head is like somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's a really good check. I mean, it's sort of the mindfulness practice we talked about earlier of like just coming back to, I'm having sex right now and I'm with this other person and I'm focused on us in this moment and I am connected. Like, oh, it's just the most beautiful thing. I want to fuck. Like, yeah, I would like to have sex. I just want that. Just talking about this experience, I'm like, I want that. I want that.
I also just wanted to say to pay attention to the height of her shoulders. Like, shrug your shoulders up to your ears right now and feel the difference.
Tense.
Yeah, compared to lowering them as much as possible.
Relaxed.
That's, if you're wondering what specifically it means when people say, like, read the woman's body, that's an important one.
Yeah. Does she look afraid? Does she look like an animal defending itself? Or is she like lost in the pleasure?
And it might not be possible for her to get lost in the pleasure right now. And that doesn't
I'm speaking generally.
That might be something that Morgan has worked up to and you might not expect from this person if they're still figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Got anything else to say about that?
Enjoy the little moments of success as you continue to take steps towards becoming a better lover and maintaining more connection with your partner.
Yes.
Don't expect to be a Casanova overnight.
Right. This is messy. And even, I believe, the best male lovers are not 100% of the time. Like they still have unpleasant
Right.
experiences. Even people who are very well practiced
Yes.
have our bodies don't always cooperate, or we misread each other, we miscommunicate. Sex and all the conversations leading up to it don't have to be perfect to be acceptable or for it to ever be good again.
Yeah. And have patience with yourself and patience for the feeling that you have right now that you feel like you used her and you feel bad about that. That's okay. Even if we all acknowledge rationally that's not what happened, it's okay to feel that way. So be patient with that. Think about the things that we've said and reflect on how you might implement some of that, or just know that you will get better.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for this question.
Yeah.
Please
Please let us know if you are able to, what the situation is. If you're able to talk to her, if you're not, what things are you confused about still? What might you need guidance on how to exactly say? Yeah, we love helping our advisees.
Yeah. Thank you, Max Carney. 1, 2, 3. All right. That's all we got time for today. Hopefully
Amazing.
we get some feedback from these folks next week.
I
and
love
tell
it.
you about it.
I love it.
All right, everyone. Keep it up. Keep doing it.
Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Things are hard right now. Things are weird. Things are fucked.
It'll change, though.
It'll change.
It'll change.
It'll change.
And you will, too.
Good night.
Good night. I like that. It'll change, and you will, too.